Hey nerds, what's up? Today we're going to talk about Red Rising, a little bit about how I ended up DNFing the Red Rising series and how I need you guys to convince me to try again or at least finish it, and also how I played the Red Rising board game because it seemed really fun and the experience with that and just about that board game in general. So let's get into some Red Rising. See you after the jump. So look, I read the first two Red Rising books and I DNF'd the series, but it was kind of like an accidental DNF more than an intentional one. It wasn't like I put down the second book and was like, that's it, I'm done. That's not how I felt. Now, I did struggle with the first 80 or so pages of Red Rising, but I had several friends who were like, just get through the first bit, then you'll love the end. Or the rest of the book. And that was true. I did. I loved the last 2/3 of the book. It was just the first 80 pages were a little tough for me. I feel like the writing wasn't very good and some of the characterization stuff bothered me, but I am a total sucker for any sort of school competition sort of thing. So the end of Red Rising was just great, the rest of that book. And I remember liking the second one. Is it Golden Sun? Morning Star? I always get confused which one is first. But I don't remember disliking it. I do remember thinking that when I finished that book though, the third one was even longer. And sometimes when I'm not wow, this is the best book I've ever read, sometimes when I see the next book is longer, I always wonder did it really need that much space? And I had heard that Darrow and Severo are fighting in the third book. And it makes me sad when friends fight. I am so embarrassed to admit that on the internet. I think that is so stupid when I say it out loud, but I even didn't go see Civil War in the Marvel universe. And I saw basically every Marvel movie because I knew friends would be fighting in it. It makes me sad. It frustrates me always because I feel like it's a miscommunication. So since I knew that kind of happened, I just never picked up the third one. And I didn't think much of this accidental DNF until I got on booktube and every booktuber's favorite series is Red Rising. Everyone's always talking about how incredible it is. And then I start getting FOMO, did I miss out? So I need you to tell me, did I miss out? And actually more importantly, do I have to reread the first two books to read the third one? Or could I just go Wikipedia what they were about? Would that be enough to jog my memory? Please let me know. Because I think that's also what happens. I didn't immediately read the third book and now so many years have passed, it starts feeling more intimidating to read it because it's do I need to have to reread two other books now? So let me know. I think I read the first Red Rising 7 years ago maybe. So maybe I'd also get through it a lot faster now. I don't know. Tell me, am I super missing out? And I know there's Iron Gold now and other books I think people think are amazing. So yeah, let me know. Either way. Stonemare Games reached out to me 6 months ago. It was quite a bit ago. Hey, we're making a Red Rising game. I don't know if you like Red Rising, but letting you know about this, we'll send you a game. And I was I love board games. And so I was I want it. But I have to be honest, I haven't read Red Rising. Anyway, but they were you don't need to read Red Rising to like this game. You don't need to. We just love the book and we made it into a game. So I was heck yeah, I'm down. And so I played it. And playing it definitely made me want to read Red Rising more, which is kind of a cool aspect of the game. But yeah, I'm going to share you guys my experience with the game because I think a lot of you guys have had it on your radar. And so I'm excited to talk about it. Okay, I'm playing with my husband, Zach. Hi, Zach. And our good friend, Alma, who is our game board connoisseur. He's very good at game boards. He knows a lot of them, so he's gonna help judge us. And hilariously, I asked Alma as a joke to read Red Rising and prep for this game, and he went home and did it. So he's read the trilogy, and I haven't. So just his dedication to...
I'm in book 4, so not totally done, but finished the main trilogy.
Yeah, so I've only read 2 books. Let's do this. Now, a game doesn't have to have great art to be a good game. I think personally of Hanabi, which is a great game, but it leaves a lot to be desired in the art direction. But I always just really appreciate a game with amazing art. It always just draws me in a lot more. And Red Rising definitely has art that appeals a lot to me. It's very vibrant and colorful, and the stylized art works really well for the theme and mood of Red Rising. I particularly like the extra detail of having foil and all the gold cards. That gives the entire game a feel of luxury. It doesn't feel cheap, and also just goes really well with the idea of golds, obviously from the book. And on that same note, I loved how some of the game pieces were metal. Usually most games have wooden pieces, so the metal stood out to me and I really liked it. I also liked the pastel metallic colors. Again, just like super aesthetically pleasing for my sort of aesthetic. And then you have your helium in the game made of red plastic, and this was my kid's favorite part, so they thought this was super cool and I could not get them to get their hands off of it. So it's like fun. All the pieces are really fun, aesthetic, and shiny. Additionally, I didn't notice until my third playthrough that there is this gorgeous piece of art on the back of the game board. Something that was totally unnecessary for the game itself, but just like a beautiful addition. And honestly, it just gave me all the Red Rising feels. Is it possible that a piece of art can make me want to get back into a book series? Because this art did. The game itself was pretty easy to understand. I think our first playthrough with 3 people took 90 minutes, and that included reading the instructions, setup, and getting to know the game. So I think their estimate of 40 to 60 minutes per game is dead on, assuming you know how to play. Essentially, Red Rising, the game, is like a deck building game. It reminds me a little bit of games like Dominion or Splendor, with the main difference being that you won't calculate victory points from your deck until the end of the game. So other factors end the game besides like a victory point total, which is like usually the deck building games I play are like. So that was kind of like an interesting twist. And you'll be playing as one of the Red Rising houses. Each house will give you a certain benefit. Your goal is to create the ultimate hand of cards to score you the most points at the end of the game. And there are various ways that you can gain or get rid of cards and score extra points by gaining influence with the Institute, collecting helium, or gaining fleet points. Honestly, I really liked this game. I always love a game that's really easy to understand and get into from like the first play. Like you don't have to spend forever reading the rules. And part of that I'll give to the really excellent help card that each player gets. I know these are included in a lot of games, but sometimes they're not very helpful. And this one is like a super concise, really good one that made getting into the first play so much easier. And this is definitely one of those games that's easy to understand, but you probably won't score very well in the first playthrough. It's definitely hugely a strategy game, as most deck builders are. And I needed to get more familiar with the type of cards available and like start understanding the different strategies that go along with it. But that's kind of the fun part of these games, is that they have a huge replay value for that reason. And for example, I won't put the sound on here, but right here in this video clip is just me getting really angry about losing the game. Guys, I'm a sore loser. But it's because I chose the very wrong strategy. Like I assumed gaining influence and fleet points and helium would be instrumental, and thus focused on that rather than building a perfect deck of cards. In the end, I lost, although Zach did remind me that I was only by 1 point. Still, I was bitter. But we all decided like the basic strategies. You should really focus completely on your cards, and you should never be getting less than 30 points from any single card in your hand. So if you play the game or will in the future, let me know if keeping that in mind helps or helped you, or like what you thought about that, but it certainly helped me. I also want to call out that they designed the box to have spots for every piece in the game after you unpack it, which is such a nice detail, and as someone who owns a lot of board games, not every company does that, and it always drives me crazy. So that is really great for this game. Like everything has its own place, easy to put away. Honestly, I don't have anything really bad to say about the game. The one rule that I wish had been more explicit in the instructions was whether or not there could be unlimited cards at any location. There wasn't anything in the rules, so as players we just assumed it was unlimited, but it would have been a nice detail to just call out because it did feel like it could influence gameplay, so I would have just liked to know for sure we were doing that part right. Overall, like, is this game super tied to like the plot of the book or really original in gameplay? No. I think it definitely draws on a lot of other board games I've played, so while you absolutely don't need to know anything about Red Rising to play, I think the fact that it's from the book series is probably a huge draw of it. I certainly really enjoyed it, and I'm glad it's in our arsenal and we'll definitely be playing again. But I do think like the Red Rising art and things like that is like a huge draw. The only other thing I'd say is that it came with all of these pristine game piece bags, but why? Can you tell me? Can I get in touch with this company that can tell me? Because like the game already has perfect spots for everything. You've already given me a spot to put everything. What's the purpose? I need to know. I need to know the purpose of why you included these bags in your game. Please contact me. Another huge positive to this game is that it includes instructions for a single player mode. I thought that was super cool, and especially because it might have been done to 8 people who are huge fans of the book and want to play but maybe don't have friends who have read Red Rising or interested in playing a Red Rising game, even though it's not necessary to know anything about the book. I played through the single player games actually a couple of times. It has a mechanic for basically a CPU character that has random movements based on cards. I enjoyed playing this because 1, I don't own actually a lot of board games that are made for single players, and 2, it was an easy way for me to become more familiar with the type of cards available and strategy. Following the strategy I said above, I ended up scoring much better on my single playthroughs and started to definitely understand the game a bit more, so like that was a really nice thing to be able to do on my own. I did win in both single player modes I played against what I call like the CPU, but in fairness, I was using their standard scoring, and I think it's pretty cool. They have a scoring mechanism to make single player as hard as you want, which again probably helps the game from getting stale. If you're interested, the game is still available right now through Stone Mayer Games. The collection edition is the one they are selling, which is the one I have. I guess there must be some other retail version because that doesn't have like the metal pieces or the foiling, but from what I can tell, they're only selling the version I have, which is the version I think is really cool. And with my limited Red Rising knowledge from reading 2 of the books a few years ago, I did enjoy the little Easter eggs even I could notice. You'll for sure like looking for them if you're a huge fan of the book. For example, cards who earn more points for being with specific characters. They obviously make sense in world, even from what I remember, or the fact that House Apollo has the best perks. And just like seeing the characters come to life through art is always fun for me. Like I'm always someone who loves looking at fan art, and to see like a whole game with so many characters come to life is really enjoyable. So please let me know if I can just like jump back into Red Rising without reading the books, or if I should actually read them. I will admit, you guys probably don't have to convince me very hard because I feel like the game kind of convinced me actually to go back into it because I was like really interested in some of the characters that I didn't know. And even hearing Alma and Zach talk about stuff on the peripheral that I didn't know, I was like, oh, I kind of want to be a part of it. Can you remind me what the character Fitchner is?
Yes. Fitchner is... I see it.
No.
What's that?
Yeah,
That's Severo's dad?
I think it's Sarah's dad.
Oh, it's Severo's dad?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And he is the...
You get a bonus at the end of the game if he's with Severo. So yeah, let me know if I can just like Wikipedia that or what. So I know this video is a bit different for me. I haven't done anything like this before, but I have had my eye on both of the Brandon Sanderson board games because I'm just like curious since I'm such a big fan of him. And so just let me know if it's something you guys are interested in, me buying and reviewing those games or like telling you what they're all about, because I had a lot of fun filming for this and it's probably not something I'll do regularly at all, but when it's book related games, it kind of seems fun to explore that. So just let me know below if you're interested. And as always, if you like these kind of videos, please like and subscribe. And if you want to see what I'm currently reading as well as other nerdy rants, you can check me out on Instagram at bookborn.reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye. See you.
I hope that makes it into your video.
Well, now.